Since evolving it, the Boltor Incarnon has become one of my very favourite guns to use. It unloads a devastating barrage of both damage and status effects to absolutely wipe the floor at even high levels. You may have seen it in a few of the more recent videos on this channel. Let's go over the features of the gun and how you can get the maximum effect out of it. I'm the Engineer, let's solve a practical problem. The Boltor Incarnon is the Incarnon upgraded version of either the Boltor, Boltor Prime, or Telos Boltor. In order to obtain the Incarnon adapter, you must complete at least Tier 5 of the Steel Path circuit with the adapter selected as a reward. From the release of this video, it will next be available for a week starting June 3rd, then July 22nd. Once obtained, you'll need to take the adapter, some Deviri resources, and your choice of Boltor variant over to Cavalera on the Zariman in order to upgrade to the Boltor Incarnon. Your choice of Boltor variant does matter here, and significantly so. Normal Boltor has vastly inferior stats and should not be a choice under any circumstances. You can do better. Telos Boltor has higher initial critical stats and substantially higher base magazine, but is lower in practically every other regard. This goes especially into status chance, where it has less than half the status of Boltor Prime normally. Telos Boltor also comes with a Truth perk effect. This automatically triggers on gaining enough affinity, once every 30 seconds, for a 25% health heal, a token 1000 gas damage to all enemies within 25 meters, and a 30-second buff to wall latch time, aim glide time, and parkour velocity. Boltor Prime, on the other hand, has higher base damage in normal and Incarnon forms, higher fire rate, vastly higher status chance, and it even has a tighter spread of faster moving projectiles than the Telos variant. Now, while on the surface it may seem like the Telos Boltor, with 30 to 60% base critical chance and 2.4 to 3.2 times critical multiplier, should pull ahead, that's only pre-evolved. The Boltor Prime, with its 12 to 24% critical chance and 2 to 3 times critical multiplier, benefits incredibly from the evolutions the adapter applies to it. Let's break those down. Evolution 1 is the Incarnon mode itself, enhancing the gun with an upgraded barrage. This barrage trades out a sizable chunk of damage per shot and some accuracy. The upsides increase the base multi-shot threefold, while also buffing the critical stats and fire rate. It also becomes a 60% slash projectile, instead of previously being impact and puncture only. Charging the Incarnon mode requires headshots. One headshot gives you 8 Incarnon charges, up to the max of 160 charges after 20 headshots. Each projectile created by multi-shot contributes to this. When partially or fully charged, you can switch into Incarnon form by using alternate fire, making available any accrued charges while reloading the base form. Switching back, manually or on running out of charges, is nearly instant. Basically, if you want an absolutely thunderous bullet hose, this is the one. It sprays an ungodly amount of shots in no time at all. With a base fire rate of 11.33 on Boltor Prime Incarnon, base 3 times multi-shot, and the most staple of multi-shot mods being a 230% bonus, that's 112 hits per second. The other 3 evolutions, as standard for Incarnon adapted weapons, provide a variety spread of stat boosts to choose from. Evolution 2 provides a two-way choice. Hunter's Mantra is a token damage buff, and then a conditional huge punch-through buff and moderate accuracy buff, so long as you're using a channeled ability. Now that punch-through is a nice stat, though the channeling requirement does knock out quite a number of builds. However, I'd skip this one entirely, given the existence of Shred and Prime Shred, plus the competition in Crimson Overture. Crimson Overture gives you a conditional buff with up to 3 stacks on both Telos and Prime Boltor. It provides again a token damage buff in addition to an ammo efficiency buff. Ammo efficiency has no effect in the Incarnon mode, but with a max of 60% efficiency on normal mode, this will provide you with effectively 2.5 times the magazine capacity, as you use ammo on only 40% of your shots. At unmodded values, this extends the 60 ammo magazine of the Boltor Prime from being depleted in 6 seconds to 15 seconds without losing any DPS. Simply put, Crimson Overture is just better. Onto Evolution 3, we get 3 choices to pick from. Swift Deliverance provides a utility buff of 60% projectile speed, making it more reliable at longer ranges. The Boltor isn't really made for long range work in the first place owing to its spread, but it's an option to make it feel snappier for you. Extended Volley offers to increase your magazine capacity from 60 to 80 on the Prime, or from 90 to 110 on the Telos Boltor. Given the first perk of ammo efficiency, and that magazine capacity has no benefit to Incarnon mode, this evolution is not worth a lot. The third option, Rapid Reinforcement, grants plus 60% reload speed. On its own, this brings down the Telos and Prime reload times from 2.4 seconds to 1.5 seconds, a pretty substantial time saving. This affects both reloading the normal mode and switching to Incarnate mode, overall a snappier experience with significantly reduced downtime. To again compare unmodded, using Crimson Overture and Rapid Reinforcement together brings the Boltor Prime from 29% downtime to just 9%. In other words, for every 1 second spent reloading, you go up from 2.5 seconds of firing to 10 seconds of firing. This is the perk I'd recommend in general. Finally, for Evolution 4, we have 3 options again, focused around the status chance and critical chance stats. Normal Boltor gets decent bonuses here, but still ends up in the trash. Boltor Prime gets significant bonuses here to both status chance and critical chance. Telos Boltor only gets significant bonuses to status chance, with the critical chance boost less than half that of the Prime. This is what truly swings around the statistics in favour of the Boltor Prime. Out of Incarnate mode, Boltor Prime with the max critical chance buff reaches 26% base critical chance and 34% status chance, while Telos manages 36% critical chance with only 16% status chance. For critical output, the Telos would be superior, but the Prime's more than 50% higher base damage and over double status chance means its true output ends up stronger. In Incarnate mode, Boltor Prime takes an even more convincing lead. With again the maximum critical chance buff, it ends up on 38% critical chance and 20% status chance, while Telos manages 42% critical chance and only 10.67% status chance. Again, the Prime has 20% higher base damage, nearly double the status output, slightly higher fire rate, and in total ends up stronger with any reasonable modding. If you try to compensate for the Telos Boltor's status chance, not only does this come at the sacrifice of its only remaining better stat, the status chance is not applied in full. Due to the innate 3x multi-shot of the Incarnate form, the 4% status chance offered from Survivor's Edge becomes only 1.33%, and the 20% status chance from Elemental Balance becomes only 6.66%. You're stuck with a choice of 40% crit chance and 12% status, or drop further to 36% critical and 17.33% status chance, now having both stats worse than the Prime. No matter how it's set up, the Telos Boltor ends up with lower status, lower DPS, just lower overall results than the Prime variant. In patches past, there was a bug with the Telos Boltor, causing Galvanized Aptitude to grant it a damage bonus far in excess of what it should have been, keyed to its magazine size. I don't know how that bug existed, but it has since been fixed. As a result, the only remaining reason to use the Telos Boltor for your Incarnate is the Truth effect. A small occasional heal, a token gas blast, and a modest parkour bonus roughly equivalent to a Tau Forged Amber Shard or the Mobilize mod. It's up to you if that's a worthwhile trade, but it's not one I'd take. For the Boltor Prime, it has the same dilution of the status chance bonus due to multi-shot, meaning the best perk to pick is the full investment into critical chance with Commodore's Fortune. With the evolution selected, let's mod it. For maximum output, I recommend this setup here. Galvanized mods are a must for their sheer power. Despite the spread on the Boltor, it's accurate enough to make solid use of Galvanized Scope. Beyond additional critical mods of Critical Delay and Vital Sense, the Boltor works well with Radiated Reload. This brings down the reload time, adds Radiation for another status to stack Galvanized Aptitude's damage, and provides the general benefits of Radiation in crowd control and bonus damage to Alloy and Murmur. That is, until de-change how damage types work in the near future. The other spot for an elemental mod is personal preference. I use Rime Rounds for a bit more status chance and to add cold to the mix, slowing enemies to a crawl and enhancing critical damage even further. If you lack Prime Shred for this setup, normal Shred will suffice. I recommend using this with a companion using both Reinforced Bond and Tenacious Bond for the critical damage buff and fire rate buff, amplifying yet further how strong this weapon hits. For Arcane, the headshot focus means Deadhead is a great pickup. It not only gives up to 360% damage bonus, stacking additively with Galvanized Aptitude, but also a 30% headshot damage bonus that effectively multiplies with everything else we're using. This build alone can carve through most threats. Anything not torn apart by the onslaught of cold rad damage will instead suffer the innate slash procs. With this weapon's weighting, we apply 28.7 slash procs per second at full stacks, delivering 2% of our total damage as slash status per second. 2% may not sound like a lot, but high level enemies of the type to resist this weapon's DPS will have armor in excess of 10,000, which itself provides 97.1% damage reduction. Against such an enemy, we'd be dealing at most 2.9% direct damage and 2% slash status damage per second. Compared that way, that's a lot more effective. Such slash status kills won't be of benefit to Galvanized Scope and Primary Deadhead, but there should be enough non-heavy units to make up for that in any mission. Now this build works best when you've got a consistent flow of enemies to keep Deadhead stacked up. If however you'll have noticeable downtime between kills, or difficulty with headshot kills, then it's worth switching just a couple mod components. Firstly, swap out Vital Sense for Serration. This provides a valuable pure damage buff when stacks aren't all there. We can then replace Primary Deadhead with either Primary Frostbite, or we can use Primary Blight if also swapping out Rime Rounds for Malignant Force. With this change, we gain a new critical damage and multi-shot buff that only requires applying status effects, something this weapon is ludicrously good at. We end up at a lower maximum DPS this way, as Serration's bonus is much lower than Deadhead's, but we also have a higher minimum DPS and higher no-kill DPS. That is crucial for situations such as boss fights. I'd generally recommend the cold-based approach, as cold is such a useful status effect when dealing with fewer heavy units, but some like the fragmented one are immune to cold, making Toxin the choice then. If you're facing extremely well armoured enemies, Slash procs may be the way to go. Slash proc builds do not do well with Primary Deadhead and Galvanized Scope, so let's instead completely retool the setup like this. When focusing on status kills, I strongly recommend using a Bane mod to double dip the buff it provides. Despite the high status chance and slash weighting of the Boltor Prime, equipping Hunter munitions for more slash is still a very good idea, especially as the normal mode has no innate slash. On the Incarnate mode, this setup will give approximately 113 slash procs per second, applying roughly 28% of the direct damage's slash status per second. It will however also have substantially lower direct damage due to having no elemental modding, no headshot bonus, and fewer unique status procs. Still, for any non-endurance mission, this will absolutely annihilate. For best results, shoot enemies only enough to kill them when the slash proc next ticks, then move on to shooting something else. This as opposed to a direct damage setup where you do just hold down fire until the target in front of your reticle gets promoted to corpse. Finally, if you're absolutely insistent on taking the Boltor places it really doesn't shine, we can mod it for the most reliable damage possible when not able to get any kills nor apply any status effects. Frankly, this hurts me to look at, but with a critical and direct damage focus like this, we can get the most out of the weapon with non-conditional modding. This then combines with the only primary arcane that gives a damage boost without having to apply status effects, including the Being Dead effect. That arcane is Primary Plated Round. This will boost the damage of both the normal and Incarnate modes of the Boltor for a very short window of opportunity. On the Boltor Prime, it's up to 259% damage buff, while on the Telos Boltor, it's up to 317%, both additive to Serration. In order to get the full buff from Plated Round, you must empty the entire magazine of the normal mode Boltor. Then, on reloading, either normally or by transforming to Incarnate mode, you'll get the full damage buff for 10 seconds. Transforming to Incarnate form without emptying the normal magazine will give you a much smaller bonus, and transforming from Incarnate form gives no bonus at all. It's less suitable than other weapons kitted for killing completely status immune enemies and would not be my first choice, but if you insist, this is how you build it. Overall, the Boltor Incarnate is a disgustingly powerful weapon. Fully stacked up and aiming for headshots, it can unleash a frankly ridiculous amount of damage. It has the flexibility to be built for any elemental or slash setup, and is generous with its ammo and its Incarnate recharging. So grab yourself an adapter when it next shows up, dial the modding up to 11, and pin your enemies to the wall with murderous intent. If you found this guide helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon with the link below the video. That's all from me on the Boltor, so as always, aim true, punch through, and fight well, Tenno.